Well, I want to start this silver update with actually silver and gold and economy update with Putin the cat here because he's got better cat senses than most of the analysts out there. That's for sure, right? And he don't give a damn. Actually, he worries more about the price of gold and silver measured in cat food. How many cans of cat food am I going to get for my silver, right? He wants it to be at least 100 cans of organic cat food per ounce of silver. That's where he wants to get it. So once it gets up that high, Putin's going to be like, eh. Anyway, uh, I'm going to point something else interesting that Allan Greenspan used to be known as the guy that created the inflationary bubble in the real estate market and all this type of stuff with easy money. And right now, he's saying he's not really a fan of the policy too much of Ben Bernanke and also of Janet Yellen. Not because he's thinking that it's going to, he's actually stating that it's a good chance he thinks it may create inflation of up to 10%. 10%. Who the hell knows, man? The thing is, nobody freaking knows. But you got to use common sense. Common sense, cat sense. I don't want to call it horse sense. We'll call it cat sense. But he says that, you see, right now, the Fed keeps buying up all the bonds and everything, all the troubled assets. And right now, they have 3.8 trillion of counting on their balance sheet. So, it's going to be difficult to unwind all this. So, they're not going to be able to. But it goes back to the age-old principles. Now, I'm going to get into a couple other things what Bank of America has been stating, too. Because there's a little bit of a case for the bears and the bulls. There's a major case for the bulls over the long run. Definitely. Oh, no doubt about it. On the short run, it's probably going to stay pretty stagnant for a while. That's one of the things. But since Allan Greenspan's talking about this, you better watch out because, first off, he's one of the guys that's all for this type of QE, generally speaking, right? And he's warning that it's going to cause inflation. See, this is where I'm going to give you this age-old principle. The central banks, they try to stimulate the economy a piece at a time, right? It's not working, it's not working, it's not working, it's not. You see, like, if you look at this inflation chart, here's inflation right now. It's low, right? It's really low. I mean, it's down there, right? And it's about as low as it's been freaking ever. So they're tempted to, stimulate the economy even more. The reason the inflation rate is not high is because the money isn't really out there in the true economy. It's being held. Like I used the example as water behind a dam. It's being held. Like big companies generally don't want to get into ventures. How do you, that's a good example, like with big companies don't want to get into new ventures when things are uncertain. Actually, you look at the skyscraper, whatever the hell you call it, the forecast, whatever. Skyscrapers seem to go up more during depression times, right? The reason is because the outlook was so freaking great and the outlook was too good that people were, hey, we got to get these big projects going. And that turns out, and then it busts, the bubble breaks, and that's actually when the skyscrapers get built. Like the Empire State Building was an example, got built during 1930s Depression era United States, right? Right now, the outlook is bad. They're hoarding cash. And there's going to be a limit to how much cash they want to hoard. It's almost like it's building up behind the wall of a dam. And what happens is it starts going out into the economy because, people start thinking, the big banks, not people, but the big banks, the big companies that have all this excess cash that the Fed is actually stimulating the economy with, they start venturing out. And once that starts, it's almost like a trickle of water coming out of a dam, and it becomes an avalanche. Now, to give you an example, this is not going to be the exact chart we're going to see in the United States. This is and actually there's been charts worse than this of Hungary, in the country of Hungary after World War II was even worse than this. It was worse than Zimbabwe, right? But Germany, price of gold, right? It rose, and then it had like a good, I don't know, 25% correction here, and looks like 1919, later 1919, and it stayed steady, and then it took off like a rocket. And the reason it stopped is because people had no more money, basically. Hyperinflation destroyed the value of everything, right? Now, I don't know if I don't think we're going into that type of situation, but who the hell knows? I think we're going into severe inflation, though, and even Allan Greenspan is predicting it. Now, to give another angle on it, Bank of America, they were talking about this, I guess about 6 weeks ago. It says, if the American economy does not accelerate soon, it says it never will. Never being bold and caps. Never will. And, maybe this is the globalist plan because they want to have everything on a flat plateau, right? It says, significant monetary stimulus, the end of fiscal austerity, a booming housing market, cheap dollar, record corporate cash balances. If the economy does not significantly accelerate in the coming quarters, it never will. In other words, they're trying to stimulate the economy, and it doesn't look good. And there's some, not Greg Manarino, because he's always predicting the end pretty soon, but, Bank of America is actually a little bit more in tune with what maybe Manarino says in some ways, because they expect a severe market correction. A severe market correction. I think that's going to throw us for a loop. That's going to actually happen. And that's when they're going to really hit the stimulus button. I think we already had the price correction in the metals. Now, there's some predicting that next month, the metals might pull back a little bit. These predictions are, you could cherry pick whatever predictions you are, but the one thing is, any ones you want, but we're not looking at the short term. We're looking a little more at the long term. And I expect, though, when things heat up, they're going to heat up unexpectedly, and if you're not ready for it, you're screwed. You're not going to be able to wait for the last minute and say, yeah, I think hyperinflation is going to hit tomorrow. And hyperinflation in the United States might be 10 or 12%. And Greenspan, actually, when he talks about up to 10%, he might not be saying what he really thinks. He might be thinking it's more like a lot higher than that. Now, I'm not talking 100%, but it may be a lot higher than that. And, you got to remember, when they measure inflation, say he talks 10%, that's 10% as measured by the government. And they don't include energy in that, right? And they include a lot of things that people that don't have the money wouldn't be buying, right? So maybe food and energy that you really need might be going up 50%, right? So, it's going to feel very, very high inflation to certain people. So, that's when it kicks in. So you do need this gold and silver stuff. I mean, it's not like it's a bad investment. It's just that you don't want to be playing in and out. And obviously, if you have physical silver or physical gold or whatever, palladium or platinum, you're not going to be playing in and out because you're not getting in that spot and you're not selling in that spot. Plus, even if you were, you'd have to mail it, insure it, or drive there or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's not a game that you play day trader with or week trader with when you have physical metals. You don't do that. But it's for that day. You might have something like this. Now, I don't think the United States is going to go like this. But you know what? The Weimar Republic never thought it was going to go like this. It could actually fall apart a little more than they expect. And, this actually ties in with a lot of stuff I keep thinking. I think they want to collapse the United States, but they want a controlled collapse. And that's what it seems to be with the powers that be. But, they're playing with fire. It may be a collapse worse than they think, too. Maybe the Western elite are going to get, screwed up. I don't know. But you got to remember, the Western elite are parasites, pretty much, right? The only thing that gives strength to the United States is the hard-working, blue-collar worker mainly in the United States. I mean, some of them don't have to be blue-collar, but generally speaking, it's the hard-working, productive, blue-collar worker in the United States that is America's strength. And you got to have something that's going to help preserve the capital of all these small businesses, and silver is not a bad bet. It could be fuel and food. You know, I know that. I actually bet on that too, big time. Physical fuel, physical food, and firepower. I talked about that. But it looks like with Janet Yellen coming on in the helm, she's not going to let off the gas until things are fixed. And Bank of America is saying if the economy doesn't accelerate soon, it never will. Never. You know, and I don't want to push this doom and gloom button too much because first off, you know, despite the people out there with all the numbers, man, people's positive attitude, hard work, perseverance under, you know, bad conditions, just keeping going forward and, you know, working hard will overcome a lot of crap faster than you think. I mean, America could be like totally collapsed. That's not the end, damn it. All right? That's not the end, period. I mean, even if you have, you know, if you have you have ways to actually produce, and you know, hemp might be the thing that would actually get us out of total collapse. Because if there's a total collapse, I mean, I think people could just grow this stuff and survive and use it for materials and grow their own industries. The real danger of American total collapse is this. You're probably going to have Russia or somebody like Putin step in at that time and make the rules. Make the rules. You know, it's almost going to go back to the square one type of thing that we talked about, you know, decades ago when there was a fear between the East-West and the whole Cold War type stuff. That would be the problem, because it's not going to be like America collapses and everybody's going to leave America alone. That is not going to be the case. There's going to be other nations in the world that are strong, and they're going to come in and screw up America even worse and keep it down. That's the problem. So, I don't know if that scenario is going to happen, but, you know, it could happen. I mean, if you just look at the steps, you know, if there's a currency collapse and there's a lot of inflation and, you know, there's a bond market collapse, well, there's going to be a military collapse because there's no way in the hell they're going to finance all that stuff, right? So, you know, this gold and silver is kind of like one aspect of the whole pie. And I don't want to, like, push this freaking doom and gloom crap, but just beware that things can get pretty bad. Just beware of that. But don't be like tunnel vision. Oh, it's bad. You know, it's almost like you see a problem, you know, you go around it, you find a solution. That's the whole message I'm putting out. I'm not saying like, oh, the sky is falling. It may be, you know, maybe there's a problem coming up. The thing is, you got to have a solution. One of the solutions, I think, is going to be the gold and silver. It's not the only solution. It's one part of the solutions. You know, I want people to stick with it because they're being told by all these people that it's never, ever going to go up. And that ain't true. That's not true, man. They're saying that the fiat dollar is going to be reign supreme forever and that gold and silver are going to stay down forever. There's people that say that. I don't like that advice at all. You see, the problem is most people, hyperinflation catches people by surprise. It fools the central banks too. You know, they don't intend on creating hyperinflation. They're trying to hold it down. It's quite obvious they're doing a great job. Look at the freaking inflation rate, you know? But the thing is, the economy's not really doing that great in the United States, and it's not even doing that good globally. So that's one of the things that comes about because, you know, each country tries to stimulate their economy by stimulating their exports, right? And how do they stimulate their exports? By weakening their currencies. which is weakening them against hard assets, usually like silver, gold, and oil and food and all that type of stuff, and just, everything else out there. And Japan's been going on this strategy, all out. They're going on super QE. But if every country's trying to stimulate their economy in this method, it's not going to, it's actually going to destroy the currencies. And that's why you're going to see gold and silver go up relative to the currencies. And it's going to probably be the only way that you're going to be able to preserve your capital. But it's not like the only solution. It's actually the biggest strength of a country is the actual productivity of its citizens. And if you have a negative attitude, you're not going to have good productivity, man. There's a lot of people that are pushing too much doom and gloom and too much negativity on YouTube that are also pushing the silver and gold message, you know what I mean? And then there's other people that are saying that the silver and gold is bad and that the peak per dollar is going to be forever good, and they're negative too at the same time. I mean, actually, it's the negativity that's actually one of the worst things going, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying to go get some Oregon energy, but maybe that'll help. Who the hell knows? Get some of that Chinese chi in you and stuff, whatever. But, the thing is, if you have a problem coming up, you have to recognize and be realistic that there's a potential problem coming up, and you have to prepare for that problem and not get like, oh. I'll give you an example. Like if I was riding down the road on a motorcycle on a highway and something fell off the back of a truck. Now, if I go, oh my God, it fell off the back of the truck, it's right in front of me. Now, considering I have some time to react to, right? It was up like maybe a quarter mile. If I stare at that object, I'll run right into it. I have to think, the object's there, how do I get around it? Do I go left, right, or do I jump it or something? Maybe it's a muffler laying in the road. Give it a simple example, but you know what I mean? And one time I did that. I mean, I was somebody's exhaust system fell off the car. I jumped it with the bike, man. Went dirt bike riding with the Harley in a left lane at 75 miles an hour, and it worked. You got to react to the situation. You can't be an ostrich, and you can't be like frozen like a deer looking at the headlights of a car coming at you, right? Either way. So that's my thing. And you got to have a positive attitude. If you don't have a positive attitude, man, you're screwed no matter what you do, okay? So, like, when I'm pushing this stuff about, I think inflation's coming to the United States, I think that's real, okay? Allan Greenspan's talking it. I think he's not talking about, he's saying up to 10%. It may be a lot more than 10%, right? The thing is, he's probably not going to, and you got to remember, even if it's 10% or 12% or whatever measured by the government, food and energy might be 50% as part of the whole calculation of 10%, because maybe the big ticket items are going down because nobody can afford them because they raised interest rates, right? So just remember this stuff. I mean, I don't want to, scare people and get them all like down in the dumps, but just remember why you're buying gold and silver. Now, next month, some people are saying that gold is going to retract a little bit, and that may be because people are getting excited because it went up a lot, it went up to 13 something, right? So maybe it'll go like to 12, I don't know, 1260 or some shit. I don't know. It's not a guarantee. But it's a good hold because you don't know when it's going to happen, man. I mean, it went down over here in Germany. Then it went up. It didn't even reach its old height, and it went down again. Then it stayed flat, right? Then what happened? The unexpected, right? So be prepared, and don't be negative.